Where is your Trivia Master scoreboard? Here it is. This is what people have done so far. Week 1, John and Nick were 10 and 6. Raf, who is Rafal Levy, by the way, is 8 and 8, along with Sander from week 2. Then Liam 7 and 9 in week 2. Maxwell brought up the rear in week 1, but still had 6 and 10. And then Kyle and Bailey missed out. They didn't make it in week 2 to day 2 action. So that's them. Hopefully now I've got this sorted out. So let's take a look. And on your screens now, that's much better. Do I have an Eric? Eric, can you hear me?
I believe so.
Yes, that sounds distinctly like Hall of Famer Eric Froelich. What, soon-to-be Hall of Famer? Eric Froelich, is it you?
Wow, Chris.
It is.
Chris, come on.
Awesome.
Don't jinx it.
Fingers crossed. Eric Froelich, who, amongst other things, has a new job. Eric, you're in the magic media right now. Tell us what you're doing.
Yeah, I am, well, I was pretty confident that my Hangouts and my mic would work. I was hoping so, at least, because I am recording another episode of Constructed Resources with Marshall later today.
Awesome.
And yeah, I'm trying my hand a little bit more in coverage. I'll be covering the Magic Online Championship Series, Seattle, in a couple months.
Okay, fantastic stuff. Always great to hear you on this show and any other show. So the fact we get a weekly dose of Eric Froelich is fantastic news. So that is Eric. Now, I believe that Hogan is not with us, but Kieran, you're there, correct?
Yep, I'm here.
Excellent. So that's got Kieran. And do I have a Steve?
Here.
Excellent. We're in business. So, gentlemen, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to ask you 8 questions on day 1 of your Undisputed Magic the Gathering Trivia Championship of the World. And what's going to happen is you need to get to 4 and 4 or better to advance to day 2. And if you manage to do that, well, then as your reward, I'll ask you 8 more incredibly difficult Magic the Gathering questions. And at the end of the 16 rounds, better score you have, the better chance you have of coming back at the end of the season after 16 weeks of regular season action. We will cut to a top 8 and bring you all back for one-on-one top 8 action. But for now, we need to just get into the business of asking you some questions on these topics. So round 1, Eric, you are player 1, so I'm going to start with you. And your first question, and indeed everyone's first question, is about Zendikar. So the question is this. Eric, what bonus does Armament Master grant to other core creatures? What is the bonus that Armament Master grants to other core creatures?
That would be +2/+2 for each equipment attached to it.
You are spot on. That is absolutely right. And that is 3 points to Eric there. And he goes to 3. Good stuff. All right, next up, I will ask Kieran this question. What ability does Caller of Gales grant? Caller of Gales, what does it give?
Oh boy. I started playing just after Zendikar, so
It's a Caller of Gales.
I'm going to guess
Kieran.
flying.
You are absolutely right. Flying until end of turn. Good job. And Steve, your question. What do you get to do if you kick Heartstabber Mosquito?
I'm not sure, but guessed on the name, I'm going to guess kill a creature with flying.
Just stop a little bit earlier and just say to me, destroy. Killing a creature is correct, and you're all underway with a win in round 1. Good job. Round 2 is about Time Spiral. Kieran, we start with you. How much life do you gain when Jedit's Dragoons enters the battlefield?
4.
Yes, you are correct. Genius. Up to 2-0. Steve, your question. Blank I, so name I, refers to a famous snake from Magic's past. What kind of snake is referenced in the card Blank I?
Ophidian?
You are spot on. It's Ophidian Eye, and my favourite card in Magic of all time, apart from Capsize, clearly, which is Ophidian, the little snake that could. And Eric, your question is this. What are the... I love this question. What are the first 4 words in the text box, the rules box, of living end? What are the first 4 words in the text box of living end?
Okay, so before the suspend part, I think it's just living end is black.
That is right. Living end is black. Round of applause for Eric Froelich there. I thought that was devilishly hard. Let's go to round 3. It's Shards of Alara time. And so, Steve, we begin with you. What kind of formation gives your creatures shroud until end of turn? What kind of formation gives your creatures shroud until end of turn?
Is it tortoise formation?
It is. You are 3 for 3. These are hard, and you're just rocking it. What a really tough pod. Okay, Eric, here's your question. Which battle mage has black and green activations? Which battle mage has black and green activations?
Be the red one, so Jund.
Jund is correct. Okay, now I'm just having a little look here. Kieran, let's just come to you first of all. God Toucher is an example of a card that uses a mechanic where a certain amount of power, quote, matters. So it wasn't a keyword as such, it was just a certain amount of power matters. What is that number?
5.
5, you're absolutely spot on. You are all 3 for 3. Now, Simon Gertson, I'm just having a little look here. It looks to me like we might have Chris on the line. Chris, are you there?
Yeah.
Chris, great stuff. Listen, welcome to the show. I'm going to put you in place of Hogan here because we've got to. There's no reason we shouldn't make that happen. So let's we'll take Hogan out and Chris in, which means Chris, in order to catch up with you, you've got some very weird noises going on in the background. Make sure you're just listening to me. But let's ask you.
I'm sorry about that.
Don't worry. Let's ask you your 3 questions to catch up. So in Zendikar, what is the expansion symbol? In Zendikar, what is the expansion symbol?
Zendikar was oh wow, I'm drawing a blank right now.
Okay, it's a hedron.
I'm gonna have to pass on this one.
Okay, no worries, it's a hedron. Let me ask you your time spiral question. What kind of creature is Stronghold Overseer?
Was it an avatar?
It was a demon, I'm afraid. Round 3. What is the casting cost of Goblin Death Raiders, the 3/1 Trampler?
1 black and 1 red.
You are spot on. Good stuff. All right, you're underway and you've caught up to the rest of them. Obviously, you had a few slow play warnings for you early in this. Let's get to round 4, and we begin with Steve, and round 4 is about Scourge. Steve, in which year was Scourge released?
Oh, this is a long time before I started playing. I'm gonna guess 98.
No, long time after that, 2003. Eric, your question on Scourge. What is the expansion symbol for Scourge?
Expansion symbol? Not something I really know. It's like I don't know what you can kind of picture it. I think it has like some kind of beak type thing, but
Okay, I'm not going to give it to you. Technically it's a dragon skull. A dragon skull. All right. So still with Scourge, the question for Chris is this, and so the question is, Chris, what is the expansion code? What is the expansion code for Scourge? 3
The
letters.
expansion code is SDG.
Say that again carefully. SC.
G.
I'm going to give that to you. It's actually SCJ, but I think we'll say we're close enough. SCJ. I guess they decided not to call it SCG, maybe for obvious reasons. Okay, and finally, Kieran, on this, to the nearest 50, Kieran, how many cards are in Scourge?
200.
Good try. It was 150 because it was 143. And for those of you in the chat, yes, I'm muting Chris in between his questions. So on we go. Halfway through day one, Eric and Kieran and Steve are all at 3 and 1. Chris is at 2 and 2. Little less help from me. On we go. Planar Chaos. Eric, how much life do you gain from Heroes Remembered?
I was muted. It's 10 or 20. I think that's 20.
20, you are correct. How much life you gain from Heroes Remembered is 20. He goes to 4 and 1. Chris, your question. What blue spell was functionally reprinted as Mana Tithe? So what was the spell that was reprinted, essentially, as Mana Tithe?
Was it Force Spike?
It was Force Spike, yep. Up to 3 and 2 for you. On we go. So your question, Kieran. Which Magus lets you draw 2 cards, but made you discard 3 cards?
Magus of the Bazaar?
Yes, and unsurprisingly, it wasn't Bizarre. You got that right. For 3 more points to you. Like I say, a good group here. Next, Steve, your question. Was Venerian Glimmer an instant or sorcery?
I'm going to go with instant.
It was instant. 4 and 1 for you as well. Round number 6 is about reprint. So these are cards that have come round multiple times. But Chris, my question for you is, in which block was a null first printed? In which block was a null first printed?
Ursus Saga?
Yes, it's Urza's block. Completely correct. 3 points to you. Very good. Kieran, your question. In which decade, so the 90s, the 2000s, or the 2010s, was Demolish first printed?
I guess 90s.
It is the 2000s. It was Odyssey. So then, Steve, your question. In which core set was Divine Verdict first printed? So it was in a core set. Which one was the first one?
8th edition.
Magic 2010 is the answer to that. This is a tough round, apparently. Eric, yours is this. In which decade was Last Breath first printed?
I'm gonna go with 2010s.
You've said enough. 2000s is fine because it's Mercadian Masks. So 3 points there. And we now know that Eric and Steve and Kieran and Chris are all going to advance to day 2. So plenty more questions to come. Here's round 7. Kieran, I'm going to give you a card name, and there are 4 cards in Magic that begin with that word. I need 2 of them from you. So Kieran, your word is Daring. D-A-R-I-N-G.
So there's... I know Daring Skyjack.
Correct. One more. Have to hurry you.
Goblin.
No, Daring Apprentice, Daring Leap, and Daring Thief went with the Skyjack. Unfortunately not, so only one there, so no points, unfortunately. A gallant 2-1 loss, as it were. Steve, your word is Dauntless. There are 4 cards that begin D-A-U-N-T-L-E-S-S. Name 2 of them.
One is Dauntless Escorts.
Yes, it is.
And then... I don't know.
Okay, Dauntless Dowerbark, Dauntless Escort, you said, Dauntless Onslaught, and Dauntless River Marshal were your choices. Eric, your word is Dawn, D-A-W-N. There are 4 cards that begin with the word Dawn. Name any 2.
Elemental. And
Correct.
Charm.
Correct.
Charm?
Dawn Charm and Dawn Elemental. You can also have Dawn of the Dead and Dawn to Dusk, which cropped up in our pun round. 3 more points to Mr. Froelich there. He's setting the pace and perhaps pulling away from the field, as great players sometimes do. And finally, Chris, here's your question. Your word is Capation. C-A-P-A-S-H-E-N. Capation. And there are 4 cards that begin with that word. I need 2 from you.
Is there a Capation captain?
No.
No. Okay.
No, there isn't. There's Capation Knight, Capation Standard, Capation Templar, and Capation Unicorn. But you're still in there fighting. So here's the last round of day one. And Steve, we begin with you. Nemesis. To the nearest 50, how many cards are in the set?
I'm going to say 150.
You are right, because it's a small set and it's 143 again. It's part of that generation of sets. Eric, what type of creature is Defiant Vanguard? Defiant Vanguard, what type of creature?
It's a rebel.
It is a rebel. Up to 7 and 1. Good job. Chris, here's your question. What colour does Voice of Truth have protection from?
The color of your choice?
No, it is not. It is white, unfortunately. Okay, so finally, on day one, Kieran, here's your question. How much does it cost to give Battlefield Percher +1/+1 until end of turn?
One and blue.
Oh, Kieran, so close. It's 1 and a black. All right, so we're at the end of day one. Kieran and Chris both at 4 and 4. They advanced to day two, though, and that's good news for Steve and Eric, because their opponent match win percentage will be based on the people they played in this round. So Steve at 5 and 3, and Eric setting the pace at 7 and 1. And already looking towards a place in the top 8 early in the season, though. So let's go to day 2 then, and we begin with round 9. We begin with Eric. Here is Mirrodin Besieged. Eric, what is the named ability on a Corda Paladin?
Battlecry.
Battlecry is absolutely spot on. There we go, 3 more points to Eric to start day 2. Chris, your question. If you have Metalcraft, what does Spiraling Duelist gain? If you have Metalcraft, what does Spiraling Duelist gain?
Is it flying?
It is not. It is double strike, I'm afraid. You've been stuck on those 4 wins for a while, but keep at it. Kieran, what is the starting power and toughness of Phyrexian Hydra?
It's a 7/7.
It is a 7/7. Good job. That gets you off the 4 and 4 with a win at the start of day 2. And Steve, what is the rarity of Lumen Grid Gargoyle?
Common.
No, it is uncommon, Lumen Grid Gargoyle. Isn't that the 4/4 flyer for 6? Something like that, I think. In any case, it is uncommon. So we move on to round 10, and Chris, you will start us off with this question. In which year was Mirage released?
96.
Spot on, 1996. Good job. We're off that 4 mark, and you get up to a 5th win. Kieran, your question. Whose blessing gains you 5 life? Whose blessing gains you 5 life?
I have absolutely no idea.
Fair enough. It's one of those really that you either do or don't. It is Mangara's blessing. Mangara was a pretty big character around then. Okay, on we go to Steve. Teremco Griffin has flying, and what other ability?
Maybe first strike.
No, it would not be first strike, it would be banding. Everyone's favourite mechanic, obviously. And Eric, your question. What happens to the spell that gets countered by Dissipate?
It's exiled.
Yeah, it is. It's removed from the game, as they used to call it back in our day. But yes, it's removed from the game. Excellent. Round 11 is up next. Kieran, we start with you. The questions are on Pro Tours and the early part of the Pro Tour history. Which Hall of Famer won Pro Tour New York 1998? Go for the only person you've ever heard of.
I've heard of quite a few, but
Go for the one that only people who've only ever heard of one person have ever heard of.
Finkel.
It's John Finkel! But what happened there? Sorry, Kai. So, yes, 3 points to Kieran for that one. Good stuff. All right, Steve, in which year was the first Team Pro Tour held?
2001.
It was 1999. There was one back in the 90s. Eric, here's your question. Which European city played host to the victory of Kyle Rose in 1999?
That was my first Pro Tour, so that would be London.
Yeah, it was my first Pro Tour as well, and yet strangely our careers seem to have diverged since then. So there we are. And finally, Chris, your question. Who became the first Pro Tour champion of the 2000s when winning Pro Tour Los Angeles 2000?
Was it? Yeah, I gotta pass on this one.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, and I can't say just think of the only person you've ever heard of, because this one was won by Trevor Blackwell, which isn't the only person you've ever heard of.
Oh wow, no, I get it. No.
Unfortunately. So round 12, we're going to start with Steve. It's Magic 2015. Steve, which player put 7 cards into their graveyard from Mind Sculpt?
Your opponent?
Yeah, it's actually a very simple one, but it sort of makes you think. It's like, wait, 7 cards, is that any player? No, it's your opponent. Eric, here's the question. What's the named ability on Zathrid Slyblade?
It's hexproof.
It is hexproof indeed. Eric, creaming his way to victory in this particular week, and almost certainly, I would think, well on track for the top 8, but we'll see what happens as we can... Yeah, we'll see what happens. Chris, here's your question. What rarity is Burning Anger? What rarity is Burning Anger?
Rare.
It certainly is rare, and you were on familiar territory there with Magic 2015. Heard it in your voice, like, yes, I know this one. Boom. Kieran, your question on Magic 2015. When is Scrapyard Mongrel a 5/3 with trample?
When you, I don't know, when an opponent's creature dies.
Reasonable answer, but it is in fact when you control an artifact. Actually, a bit of a clue in the
Makes
name.
sense, yeah.
It's Scrapyard. Yeah, it's like, okay, I've got an artifact, so now I'm bigger and better. All right, we're down to our final 4 rounds. Eric leads the way by a margin. Everyone else is on 6 wins and 6 trying to get a positive record. Eric is at 11 and 1. Let's see how he does down the stretch. Round 13, Ice Age. Eric, what is the starting power and toughness of Jotal Worm, which costs 5 and a green?
I have no idea. 5/5.
Nope, it's a 6/6. So you stay at 11 wins. Chris, we're going to stay in green for the question, what is the cost of regeneration? The spell regeneration. What does it cost?
Was it a green and a colorless?
It was a green and a colourless. Great job. You're up to 7 and 6. Well done to you, sir. Kieran, here's your question. Name the card that is functionally identical to Orcish Artillery.
No.
So Orcish Artillery was a 1/3, and you tapped it to deal 2 damage to target creature or player, and it dealt 3 damage to you. That's what Orcish Artillery was.
Oh, no. The only one I can think of, and I'm sure it's not a creature, is Orcish Oriflamme. Oh,
No, it isn't. Orcish Oriflamme, I think, was a like +1/+0 to all your guys. It is in fact Orcish Cannoneers. It's a strange one. You think why would they just not have Orcish Artillery again? But Orcish Cannoneers was the answer. All right, Steve, here's your question. Which 3 and a blue enchantment forms a lethal combo with Donate in Constructed? So what's the 3 and a blue enchantment?
I would think it's called Delusions of Grandeur.
Say it again slowly, please.
Delusions of Grandeur.
Oh, Steve, I'm really sorry. We're deep in day 2. I can't take that. No mercy, I'm afraid. It is Illusions of Grandeur, not Delusions. The Delusions was Delusions of Mediocrity, but Illusions of Grandeur. And incidentally, for those of you who would like to donate and complete our Illusions of Grandeur here on the show, do hit that donate button. We would love to have all of your monies, as someone said in the chat room. Rich Hagen, give us all of your monies. Or don't. We just want to hang out with you and have a great time. But if you feel like it, that would be great. On we go then. 3 rounds to go, and we're going to start with Chris. The round is about the set Legends. We're going right the way back to the mid-90s. Chris, how does Fallen Angel get +2/+1?
You sacrifice the creature?
Yeah, spot on. You sacrifice a creature. That's been in quite a lot of core sets down the years. Up to 8 wins, you're guaranteed to have at least an even record. Good stuff. Okay, next, Kieran. What is the cost of Underworld Dreams?
Oh, that one is black, black, black.
Black, black, black is absolutely right. 3 points to you. Steve, what is the cost of Recall, which lets you bring X cards back from your graveyard to your hand?
I think it's XX blue.
XX blue is spot on. 3 points to you. This is such a great group. And Eric, here's your question. Why can Davenant Archer's ability only be used in combat?
What? What is that card?
Yeah, so why can Davenant Archer's ability only be used in combat?
Because it only affects blocking creatures?
Okay, it's a reasonable try, but I can't give it to you again. We're deep in day 2. It's because it deals 1 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. It was a little like 1/2 white thing for like 2 and a white, something like that. So there we are. So we go to round 15, Kieran. It's Eventide is the set we're going to look at. And I want to know from you, what is the named ability on Monstrify? The named ability on Monstrify, please.
I have no idea what was in Eventide specifically, but I will guess Retrace.
Yeah, correct answer. Very good. He's got it. Crikey. Okay, Steve, your question. What gave Evershrike +2/+2?
I'm thinking. I don't know this one.
Okay, it was each aura attached to it. So you could just stack it up and up and up and up. Eric, here's your question. Officially written as a 6/6, the size of Canker Abomination actually depends on what?
Like, I think it's smaller for how many creatures your opponent has?
Oh, you're spot on, yeah. It's -1/-1 for each creature that opponent controls. And Chris, here's your penultimate question. Starting out as a 2/1, what can Battlegate Mimic become? Starts out as a 2/1, what does it become?
Does it become like a 5/3 with first strike?
It doesn't. You're very close. You got the first strike, but it is 4/2, in fact. It just doubles up. 4/2 first strike. Okay, our final question. Here we go. Steve, trying to get to 8 and 8 and an even record. Here's your question. We're going to go to Intro Decks and Dragon's Maze. So complete the deck name, blank, Authority.
Azorius Authority?
Azorius Authority, absolutely. 3 points to you. Eric, already at 12 wins. Can he get a 13th? Complete the deck name. Blank. Power.
Is it? You there?
Is it what?
Hello?
Yeah?
Oh. Let's go with
Blank Power.
Orzhov.
Orzhov, he says, having obviously played infinite games with the intro decks. You are correct, and you get to 39 points, which is great job. All right, Chris, here's your question. Complete the deck name Blank Revelry. Blank Revelry.
Death Revelry?
It's Rakdos Revelry. And finally, Kieran, here's your question to wrap up day 2. Blank Siege. Blank Siege.
I can't see that being anything but Gruul.
And you are correct. Yes, because you have to be Gruul to be grind. apparently. And so that brings us to an end of the Undisputed Magic the Gathering Trivia Championship of the World, week 3. You have all done terrifically to get to an even record or better, but there is someone piling up the points there. 13 wins, only 3 losses, Eric Froelich. I'm fairly confident that's going to see him back in our top 8 much later in the season. But great job by all of you. Thank you so much for being part of TUMTGTCOTWS1, as we like to rather catchily call it here on the show. Take care to all of you, and we will see you all again very soon here on Downtime. Thank you so much to